leaving France and heading across the notorious Gulfe de Lyon for Spain. With a Mistral wind bearing down on us, we make a run for it down the Spanish coast. Well, farewell Marseille, farewell France. Here begins our overnighter to northern Spain. And we've got some nice wind, so I'm stoked. Looks like we've got a good sail ahead. Something has wrapped itself around our boat speed monitor, I think, because it's just showing boat speed 0, but our speed over ground at the moment is 7.8, so making really nice speed. Maybe a bit too fast, we don't want to get in at 4 AM, but it's forecast to get a bit lighter further out. So yeah, we're making hay while the sun shines. Making speed while the wind blows should be expecting sailing parlance.
We've had to time our departure quite finely because the Mistral that just happened is now past and it's on its way to Corsica and Italy. But there's another one coming in the next 2 days, so we want to get out of here before it hits. As you may be aware, the Mistral is the most notorious wind in the Mediterranean. You look at any book about winds in the Med, Mistral is always the first one they mention. Why? Well, what happens is you get this big wind coming through from the Atlantic and it gets bottled up between the Alps and the Pyrenees and just gusts all the way through, and you're up to 30 to 40 knots. In winter it's even worse. I hate to be here at that time. One thing I've set up in preparation for crossing the notorious Golfe de Lyon with the potential for the Mistral is our satellite communication. As you recall, back in the Messina Strait, we got caught out with a blow that came slightly early. Our weather was 3 days old, and so just as we were rounding the toe of Italy, we got hit by very strong winds, 30 to 35 knots. It was rather uncomfortable, as you imagine. So in preparation for that, over the last 2 or 3 days, well, over the last 2 days, I've gone ahead and finally set up our satellite communications from Iridium. It was provided by Predict Wind. I wanted to go just with one source. It worked like a breeze. I essentially registered with the satellite company. I put in the SIM, powered it up, and straight away got the satellite signal, got onto the Predict Wind offshore app, downloaded the the latest weather data, all good. So now, in about 5 hours, when they've got the next update for the weather forecast, I'm going to log on and get the latest weather forecast for just the northeast coast of Spain. Well, unfortunately there's not much wind right now. It's anywhere between 7 to 10 knots and pretty close to on the nose, so we're motor sailing. But tell you what, I'd rather have this than the Mistral. They say that in the Gulf of Lyon that the wind can pick up, and you could be sailing in 10 knots of wind, and within the hour the Mistral will come through and be howling at 30. So I'll take this any day. So while Aiden and Ella are playing chess, I've just been gathering our kit together for overnights. So the most important are life jacket and the PLBs. Still need to get the tethers. I've also got our 4000 lumen torch as well as our head torch. In due course, we're also going to gather our thermoses. I've got a Coke just in case, and I've also I've got the binoculars ready as well. One other nice thing for tonight is we've got a moon that's almost full, unlike when we were crossing the Messina Strait when it was a new moon. So it'll be nicely lit up over the night.
Dolphins at sunset.
You're joking. There they are. That's just amazing. Woohoo! That's incredible.
Isn't that beautiful?
Whoa. I wonder if the sun.
Hello.
Let's try that.
Woohoo. On the other side. Oh, we're surrounded by dolphins. Some on the other side too. It's pretty magical with the moon.
Since it's such clear water, probably they could probably see
I can hear the boat and the engine. Oh, the engine's off. The wind has usefully turned for us. It was straight on the nose and now is off at an angle, and so I'm sailing. Just zooming in for a moment, you can see we're going over some pretty big canyons, but actually the view I mostly keep overnight is zoomed out view, because the main task overnight is to make sure we're not going to collide with these other vessels. There's a few cargo ships, some ferries, 1 or 2 fishing boats, and it's all fine now, but if I wanted to check whether we're going to collide with another boat, I simply click on it and get the details, and here you can see CPA, closest point of approach. So the closest we're going to get is about 10 or 11 nautical miles. All good. I've got the autopilot set to wind mode. We could go a little faster coming off the wind, so more than 30 degrees angle. The wind right now is coming from around this direction, and I'm pointing about as close as we can to the wind. So it's always a compromise in this situation between going where you actually want to go, which is this white line, but not being able to go any closer to that line, otherwise we slow down a lot going into the wind.
We are very close to Spain. We can see it on the horizon. The lights of towns in front of us. We should be getting in around 9:30. It's around 6:30 now, so 3 more hours to go.
Buenos dias. We are in Spain. I've just taken over from Phil, and Aidan is at the helm. We're bringing down the French flag, and Aidan, which one are we putting up?
the Spanish one.
Okay, go for it.
That's enough.
So we've arrived at the Cadaqués. This is a peninsula that juts out into the Mediterranean. It's essentially an extension of the Pyrenees as they come into the Med.
This place looks great, really wild, water looks divine. All we need now is an anchorage. So we're pretty confident that this will be it. relax and enjoy this beautiful spot and this magic moment of letting down the transom. It's time to peel off these layers. I finally thawed out after the overnight crossing and it's time for a snorkel. So as well as a snorkel that's on the cards, I've put up my hand to go and clean our boat speed sensor. It's also the depth sounder, which it's been a bit flaky, so probably time for the scourer again. And a little confession, I'm scared of the underside of the boats. It's something I've been working on the Tranquilo trip. Bill made me sit on the keel, but I still get the heebie-jeebies when I see propellers underwater. Possibly because a boat came too close to me when I was a kid in Lake Hadai. But yeah, I'm going to give it a go. Well, did the best I could, and it wasn't too scary. So thanks, Phil, for being there.
No worries.
Set sail tomorrow. We'll see if that worked or not.
So this is the system that we wanted to avoid coming in early. This is the forecast I downloaded from Predict Wind via our sat phone about an hour ago to decide where we're going to anchor. This is the Gulf of Lyon. Marseille is there, Barcelona is here. This is the next few days. As you can see, it builds, but it's all relatively gentle, 10 to 15 knot winds. But as you can see, it's very quickly building up to 20 knot winds and 25 knot winds.
So this is what we will be missing because we've left Marseille.
And on Wednesday we're going to duck around the corner and get out the Mistral.
That is spectacular.
Yep.
We're doing a very early getaway this morning to beat the Mistral. So according to the forecast, already coming down the Gulf de Lyon, and we'll hit these parts in the next 3 hours. Not ferociously, 10 to 15 knots, but later on it will pick up to the 20 to 25 knots. Elle's gone down to give Aiden an early morning cuddle, so I'm on a tether. Don't want to be getting caught out going over the edge, and they're still cuddling when I'm calling for help. So, yeah.
Why do I have to video me? Am I doing something wrong?
No.
These are quite big waves.
Yeah.
So we want to get as far south as we can this morning, and we're going to duck into a nice headland that's protected from the north.
It's a bit of a shame that we have to motor sail so much over the last few days and today. But when you dodge the Mistral, you don't really want to go at half speed and get caught out. So again, we're motor sailing to get around some of these points and out of the way of the Mistral. It is what it is. One thing that's readily apparent is that when you're downwind sailing, you're better off putting the sails up even in light winds and motor sailing, because if you just have the engine on without any sails, the waves tend to rock you around quite a bit. You put the sails up and the wind pushes you to one side, and that whole rocking motion really smooths out, so you don't really feel the waves that much. It's kind of quite a nice motion.
Right?
Yeah, a couple more degrees, right? Yep. Oh, 3.
The wind's picked up, it's off our quarter, so time to turn the engine off and sail.
Bring it in a bit. Some pretty stormy clouds forming over there, which is close to where we're going tonight, so we'll see what happens. Well, it looks like kayaking is the thing to do in this town. And we're having a lazy afternoon. It's raining.
Well, this is something unique. Last time we had rain was all the way back in Albania at the start of summer. So we've gone through the whole of summer with not a speck of rain. So, as you can hear, there's also thunder. So what I've done is I've put all the key electricals, the computers, iPads, the satellite comms, and this camera's about to go in as well, into the oven. As in Albania, I said the oven acts as a Faraday cage, so any lightning that, the tiny chance that it hits us, will, the Faraday cage, the oven, will keep the lightning from breaking out. One thing I'm amazed about is that the windsurfer school is still having all their windsurfers out in the rain and thunder. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be out there right now on the water. Yeah, unfortunately, earlier this year, a kid was surfing out in just north of Newcastle in Australia, and a freak lightning bolt just hit him. Yeah. unfortunately he did die.
Here we have a tale of two cities, or a tale of two weather systems. Dark and stormy, and light and sunny.
Looks like the thunderstorm has passed, but these clouds do look ominous, and looks like there may be another system in it.
After a thunderstorm in the night, it's a nice clear morning, nice and calm. You can see the sea is a mill pond, just totally calm. Maybe a little different out there, but the forecast is that we will just keep progressing ahead of another big wind that's coming through. So we're up early, the moon set is behind me, sunrise ahead of me, and we are off to Barcelona.
If you like this video, please click like below and subscribe to follow our adventures.